Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, or welcome to my channel if you are new. Glad to have you here. So today, of course, we're going to continue with the current summer horror DVD movie review video or series. And the movie we're going to take a look at today um, is kind of a creature feature, nature gone wild, or however you want to say it. And that movie's from 2008 for my DVD collection, Grizzly Park. So yeah, Grizzly Park. It's gonna be a bear, and then there's also the tagline, "This ain't no gentle Ben," which I like a little bit more actually. So yeah, this is a movie that I saw on Shudder, I believe, or maybe it was Netflix. I think it was Shudder, probably about 6 or 8 months ago, and I remember kind of enjoying it enough to the point where I went online to see what the price was for a standard DVD of it, and I think it was only $3 or $4 or something that I ended up paying for this. So I decided to add it to my collection. So in my review, I'll get into the reasons why. Even though it's definitely not a perfect movie, but with that being said, Grizzly Park. So Grizzly Park is a 2008 American horror film written and directed by Tom Skull. Eight teenagers are forced to complete a week of community service at a national forest, during which they are hunted by a vicious Kodiak brown bear, played by Brody the Bear in his film debut. Glenn Morshower, Whitney Cummings, and Rance Howard appear in supporting roles. So basically, the movie opens with a serial killer, Butch, who escapes prison and murders an officer before posing as his victim so he can disappear in the remote Grizzly Park. To keep his cover, Butch picks up eight troubled young teenagers who are inducted into a rehabilitation program in Grizzly Park to serve a week of community service for their respective misdemeanors. Michael Scab White is a white supremacist. Lola is a Mexican tomboy. BB is a ditzy and dim-witted. Ty is a computer whiz. Candy is a shallow it girl. Ryan is a spoiled rich kid. Kiki is also spoiled and shallow. And Trickster is mostly concerned with pulling pranks. Arriving at Grizzly Park, the group meet Ranger Bob and Ranger Mike. Ranger Bob sets off with the group into the park while Ranger Mike stays with Butch, who quickly stabs him to death before entering the park himself. However, Butch is soon attacked and killed by a large grizzly bear. Through their hike, the miscreant youths are given an opportunity to seek redemption. However, this fails as the group ignore Ranger Bob and instead spend the majority of the hike lusting after each other. Ty and Kiki sneak off from the group, but Ty becomes stuck in a wolf trap. His blood attracts a wolf which kills and devours Kiki before the grizzly bear kills Ty. The rest of the group reach the main camping site where they spend the night. So yeah, that's kind of the setup and the premise for Grizzly Park from 2008. As far as the cast goes, we have Brody the Bear as the Grizzly Bear. We have Glenn Morshower as Ranger Bob, Emily Foxler as BB, Julie Scahn as Candy, Caven Reese as Ryan, Zule Hino as Lola, Randy Wayne as Michael Scab White, Trevor Peterson as Trickster, Shadrach Anderson III as Ty, and Jellyn Rodriguez as Kiki. So yeah, that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for the 2008 horror film Grizzly Park. Um, I don't know what it is, but I actually find I'm entertained by this movie. It's not a great movie. I'll get into that when I get into my cons, but I find enjoyment with it. So let's just get into the things that I like about Grizzly Park first. So first thing's kind of an obvious one, but I really like the fact that they use a real grizzly bear in this movie, as opposed to some sort of computer generated bear. It adds so much more fear and realism to the movie instead of being like cheesy and obviously fake CGI kind of bear. So, um, yeah, I was glad to see that they got Brody the Bear in his film debut here to play the grizzly bear. And Brody the Bear does a great job. Definitely the best actor in this movie, bar none. Bar none. So that was the first thing that I liked. The third act of the movie is really fun. It's definitely the best part of the movie. It has some really fun and gory kills, along with a couple of decent twists that I'm kind of mixed on. I'll get into that with my cons, but there's some decent twists that I didn't see coming to close the movie out with. It's like I said, it's definitely the best part of the movie, the third act, and the best kill during that third act is Trickster's decapitation, basically at the hands of the grizzly bear. Um, just the effect of it, the look of it, how he's got his jaw still hanging there and the rest of his head is off. It's really cool looking. So yeah, I really enjoyed that part of the movie. Brilliant. The characters are tropey, but I kind of like them. It's weird. I'm not saying that it's well, they're not the best actors in the world, but the characters, the way they're written, and yes, they're very tropey, as I said. You've got the bitchy girl, you've got the rich white kid, you've got um the minority characters, which of course are killed first. But there's a lot of eye candy in this movie, and I think the characters they actually have pretty good chemistry on screen. Like the three guys especially, um towards the latter half of the movie, there's three guys left and three gals. The three guys I thought have good chemistry when they're on screen together, that feels real. And the three gals at the end are incredibly easy on the eyes, but they all have pretty good chemistry. And in a movie like this, usually you get like shit characters and really shitty acting. And even though the acting isn't great in this movie, I think it's serviceable at least. But I like the characters more than I don't, and not to say that it's all perfect or all the dialogue is great, but I think that's kind of why I find this movie entertaining, because they give us characters that are at least tolerable and somewhat entertaining at times as well, even though very tropey. So yeah, very fun there. I really like the outdoor Grizzly Park setting with all the wildlife and woodsy sort of things that are going on that these characters encounter. I think it's a good setting for a horror, nature gone wrong, creature feature kind of movie. So that's definitely a pro for me. The movie has good cinematography. There's some really nice shots, overhead shots of this woodsy area, really beautiful to look at. They use practical gore effects for the most part. Like I said, most of your gore comes towards the end of the movie, and not so much in the first half. But I thought for the most part they use gore effects. There is some fake CGI, but not as much as you would think for 2008. And for the most part, there's some fun and catchy music and a good score here. Obviously, that's most notably "I Met a Bear" by Twin Sisters. That song's played at the beginning of the movie, and then it's the ending credits, basically the end of the movie. It's such a cheesy song, but it kind of works for this movie, and it's really catchy. Um, it just overall, this movie just works for me, and it's entertaining enough for what it is, despite its issues that it has that I'm going to get into right now. So, those are my pros though for Grizzly Park. As far as cons go, it really does take a while to get going, like 30 minutes before we even see the grizzly bear for the first time. So it's setting up a lot of characters and story, and it doesn't really go anywhere with any of those. We get a lot of scenes with just talking. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's kind of wasted time, in my opinion. Um, especially, especially in a movie that's kind of satirical. At least that's my assumption. I'll get into that in my next con, but we don't need a lot of setup for characters and stuff. I think they should have spent more time on more kills and things like that, but that's neither here nor there. The movie never quite knows what it wants to be. I feel like it's more of a satirical sort of creature feature, nature gone amok, with decent attempts at humor and tongue-in-cheek moments. Um, but it doesn't know if it wants to do that or be more of a serious dramatic creature feature exploring the characters' reasons for being there and kind of their background and stuff. And as a result, you get a movie that's pretty uneven at best from a through line, through a narrative standpoint. I think they should have just went full on satirical, something like Cocaine Bear kind of a situation. But instead, they try to throw in these sort of dramatic moments, these emotional moments for the characters, and that just it's confusing. Like I said, it's uneven at best. The reason I think it's more satirical, though, at one part towards the end of the movie, there's a scene where one of the main characters is he's being taken by the bear, and his arms are being held by these women, and he basically cups one of the girls' breasts, and then he smiles while this bear is devouring him, basically, and pulling. He ends up pulling him where his arms come out, and they end up holding onto it. That's what makes me think it's definitely more of a satirical. I just wish they would have done that throughout the movie to make it less confusing and a little bit more make the narrative a little bit more obvious of what they were going for. So, um, also, there's too many off-screen kills, especially in the first half hour, 45 minutes of the movie, where it has more of a TV movie-like feel as a result. The kills in the first hour of the movie are quite disappointing, although the movie's redeemed somewhat by the last half hour, sort of fun, gory kills. And then my final con is, while I do like the couple twists that we get at the end, more so the second one than the first one, I do feel kind of like, in retrospect, they feel rushed to me. It almost makes me wonder if they were added after the fact, like they didn't really know how to wrap up the movie. And at some point they just said, "Hell, we'll just say this and we'll say that, just to kind of change it up a bit." I don't know. They just didn't seem like fully fleshed out twists that really worked throughout the whole movie when you think back on it. Now, I think the second twist works a little bit better. The first twist is probably a little easier to see just because one character is so. I'm not going to tell you what the twists are, but let's just say there's a couple characters that are more. They're not exactly what they appear to be in this movie. So I'll leave it at that. But like the first twist, um, because of the way it's played up, it's a little bit more not as hard to see coming. The second twist I didn't see coming, but I also think that might have been the one that they wanted to end the movie on more of a gut punch kind of twist ending. And again, it felt very rushed to me though. So I don't know if they were unsure of how to close the movie, but with all that being said, guys, those are my cons for Grizzly Park. Overall, I just have a good time with this movie. It's fun. It's not great. But it's fun and entertaining enough for me, especially from 2008. And I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10 overall. So, yeah, 7 out of 10 for Grizzly Park from 2008. Go ahead and comment down below if you guys have seen this movie, what you think of Grizzly Park. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Why or why not in the comments. I would recommend it if you haven't seen it before, at least as a one-time watch, just for sort of a fun, don't have to think too hard kind of nature gone amok movie. I mean, don't expect brilliance from it or anything, but please like this video, hit the little notification bell down below, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my upcoming reviews for this series or any of my other great horror content throughout the rest of the year. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review and you're enjoying this series. And as always, stay scared. Bye.